We can't send just one sentence. We're going to be a supplier, period.
We could.
I'm not saying we can't, we shouldn't.
No.
Don't just say that.
We should be a little more specific than that. For example, something that we discussed together, how this water is going to go to the district, like how we're going to connect to the district. And this is a fair question, I think.
That was my question this afternoon. There was the direction on which the supply goes from Fredonia to Dunkerville. And they didn't have it shown on the map as Central Avenue. They have now showing down into Roberts Road.
Out Sheridan.
Out Sheridan. Now, we don't currently have a direct hookup with that area where they want to connect it. What it would be going through is our main, or not our main line, not the main line.
We do.
Supply town of Pomfret. Town of Pomfret is supplies in that area down Route 60, from Webster Road down Route 60 to Route 20, and then down Route 20 heading east. That would be our connection. So we can't just arbitrarily choose to supply somebody on the other end of the town of Pomfret's water district.
We provide the town of Pomfret. So that's
We
how.
supply the town of Pomfret, correct, but that's the town of Pomfret's system. And it's not actually the village's system. So legally, maybe
I understand what
Dan
you're
might have
saying.
something different to say on this, but this is my view. It means, back in the day when they had cattle farms, cattle farmer wouldn't want the one farmer herding his across the field to get to his next field, 20 miles away. So, this, I'm just going to cut through because I want to. I'm going to, but
I imagine it's going to be some kind of agreement between us.
It would have to be an agreement. I mean, we're talking about.
Well, now we're involving the
water district
town.
as a whole.
right, now we're including the town in addition to this in this contract. So, I just want to make that. My belief is there's something we need to be aware of.
Well, I think that right now, okay, for the purposes of the discussion right now, offering our water to the North County Water District is the real question. All right, because the city of Dunkirk does have an exclusive contract, and it does say exclusive, to supply water for the North County Water District. Before we overcome that hurdle, everything else is just discussion.
Right.
I mean, I think that if we offer our services and our water to the North County Water District, they have to take care of their contract with the city of Dunkirk. That's not on us, all right? And before that's done, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to discuss the specifics and rates and transmission lines and all that, because we're not anywhere near where we need to be. The North County Water District needs to clean their own house if they want our
But I
involvement.
just want to make it, so that we're not in the dark if they throw this at us.
Yeah.
Because right now, what I see is that they want to expand into the town of Sheridan, but I see that the expansion isn't going to give us the ability to sell into the town of Sheridan. What if we would decided to expand the town of Pomfret not with them and sell our water to the town of Sheridan? We could still do so and make sales if they weren't going to be connecting to our connection on the town of Pomfret.
But the Sheridan Water District already has an agreement with the city of Dunkirk. I know because I wrote it.
Sheridan already does.
Yeah, I mean, they already do.
Okay.
So again, our threshold question is, will the North County Water District allow us to come in as a supplier? Anything else is just nonsense until we have that question answered. Because right now, contractually, they're obligated to only take water from the city of Dunkirk. And so whatever we propose is nonsense until they straighten it out.
Isn't that the same question then when they're proposing that Erie County Water Authority come in too?
That's the point, that's what I'm trying to do.
That's our point. It's our understanding that Clark Patterson Lee has evaluated the capabilities of the city of Dunkirk and has built into their proposal for the North County Water District involvement of the, Erie County Water Authority. Right? What we would like, and what county executive has expressed at several meetings, is to keep the water local, because to control the water is to control development.
Correct.
And do we
Exactly.
want that control leaving the county?
Right.
And so I think we're all on the same page. I just think we don't need to spin our wheels too much thinking about rates and transmission lines and intermunicipal agreements until the North County Water District says, hey, yeah, you guys can come in as a supplier. That's the threshold question. Everything else just
It's a
nonsense.
backup supplier. They're not gonna want us as a regular supplier.
In any capacity, and they need to let us know. I mean, we have expressed our willingness to come into the North County Water District, which is something that Fredonia in the past has not expressed. I mean, I think this is a huge step forward in the interest of regionalism and, the water district in general. But they've got to meet us halfway here. We are willing, and they need to be legally able to accept our water.
And I
You
want
need
to
to
make that
legally-
clear. I want to make that clear that we are offering the water. We are offering to be part of the district. So if something happens and they don't accept us and they go at some point to Erie County Water Authority, I want to make it clear that we offered it before. And maybe it's not going to be enough. Maybe we don't have enough water. Maybe it's going to be a need for a third party. But if they go to them as a second party, I just want to make sure that everybody understands. We, personally, me, at least, I want to be the supplemental source of water. I think we can do it. I think we have enough water. I think we can have more water. I mean, for God's sake, we have 45% water leaks, right? Am I correct? Yes.
Lost, not necessarily all leaks, so. Well, you could, a water main breaks and stuff, I'm
Well,
assuming
it's
that.
water loss.
Yeah, water
It's water
loss.
loss.
We don't know what the source is.
Yes,
includes
it's
fire-
lost that
fire
we
use and everything else.
don't.
Could be
Infiltration,
bad
everything.
neighbors, could be
Yeah.
a number of different things.
I mean, I'm sure we can recover some of that water. Not all of it is, water that we use.
Flushing of hydrants, that's all calculated as well.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think that's, at least my understanding is that up to 10%, 10, 15%. We have 45. So it's a lot of water there. Anyways, that's my point, that we are able, ready, and willing to do it.
Are you-
I think it's a great, I think it's a great idea. And like I said, you don't worry about the connections. Well, Central Avenue, in my opinion, would still be the best connection. But besides that, and of course, you said you don't want to worry about the rates or anything at this point. So we don't really need to talk about that yet.
Well, they're asking
Right.
about everything before they make any kind of commitment. And, I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong. They're trying to protect their, the North County Water District any way they think right, and that's fine. But as Dan said, first of all, are they willing to work with us? Are they willing to discuss it? Or we going to have all this discussion by ourselves and send a letter and say, well, not really, thank you.
So they asked for a lot of specifics then, so at this point, there's just no point in giving them any specifics. Because it's basically a letter of intent that we are willing to.
That's our
Is what we're
position,
looking
Jim,
for?
legally. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to negotiate a warranty plan for the card that nobody's agreed to sell you yet.
Okay. I guess that's it.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of research on, the water usage in the United States, and now, in the future, probably in the next 10 or 20 years, water's going to be one of the most sought-after natural resources and commodities. Okay? So any water source that we have, fresh water source, I believe truly and wholeheartedly that we should keep. I feel that investing in it now for 30, 40, 50 years down the road is a super investment. As far as North County Water District, I don't know about this proposal. I wasn't there to discuss that, so all I can say is, like everybody else has been saying, we can't discuss any lot of that right now. There's no contract for anything on the table. But I do think we have the capability right now with our, we did a water study through O'Brien and Gear to upgrade our interconnect right now currently at Millard Fillmore Drive. There's a 12-inch line going to Dunkirk, and there's a 12-inch line coming from Fredonia that's supplied by an 8-inch line. Right now, there's, in the process, and part of our project is to upgrade that to the 12-inch line from the pump house area over to the other 12-inch line to supply that. Now, we currently are under the Department of Health right now, either the county or whatever, we have to have a certain amount of reserve daily that we can't meet currently with our water tank and our clear well. But that 12-inch interconnect that we currently have, if it's fully functioning with the pumps that the upgrade is going to produce, I think that would solve a, not necessarily, that might not be the interconnect to supply water to the district, but right now that would solve our problems with the Department of Health and having enough storage on tap that we
I
need.
think we do, actually. I've discussed it with them a few times. I know they want us to have more,
But that's already in the plans though right now, so that's a 12-inch interconnect. I don't know what the district is asking for an interconnect, but for emergency purposes, if we have a water emergency or see a Dunkirk, that's a perfect opportunity right there. That's a no-brainer. We already have that. Whether that be enough to, I doubt it, to supply the full, we don't have the capacity to supply.
The village.
We don't have the capacity to
supply the
supply
village.
anything, supplement, and they could supplement us. So we already have things in line already to upgrade our system
Are
in
we,
that.
do we have the money to do that? Are we doing it? I mean, that's,
That's part of the
are we doing
current,
it?
the
No, we're
water.
not doing it,
Oh, that's what I
but there
mean.
was an estimate in there, I think it was for $50,000. If
Was
I'm
it-
not mistaken, in the report, to do the connection and fix the pump house. The pump house needs to be repaired also.
You were to increase it to an 8-inch line,
12
right?
inch.
From 8
Yeah,
inches
we
to
connect to a 12-inch.
Because right now it's being
We're
supplied by
connected to
an
an 8.
8-inch line from Vineyard Drive, and when we need water, we're depleting every business on Vineyard
So
Drive.
if we do that, the 12-inch, isn't going to drop the pressure in Dunkirk? Is that, I thought that was a problem. So if we make it, put it in even bigger.
Well, that's why we have a pump house. The pump house controls the pressure that, and the amount of, I mean, the history has shown that we probably sold Dunkirk as much water as they have sold us. It goes both ways. And just that you don't read about it when they need water, but you read about it when we do. But anyway, that's beside the point. That's the second pump house that the village has put in on Main Street.
Okay.
And it would serve, it would relieve this issue with whether we actually need the backup or not, but it's not, we should have it anyway. And it seems to me that's a pretty inexpensive fix. And if we do that coupled with doing a leak detection where we can recover some of this, we're producing water right now as if Carriage House was still here.
We're not
And
getting
we're
money
not
for
getting
it.
paid for it, so, it's a good place to start, I believe.
I thought it was part of the project of the water treatment plant, that was part of that as well. So I mean, whether we have the funding for, it's part of the project, I believe it was gonna be bonded. So I mean, the money should be there sometime whenever it's part of the project.
We would have money available, for, if it's under $100,000, I think we would be able to. It's something we need to plan, okay?
Well, yeah.
We can't do that tonight, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's doable. So, I strongly encourage that connection be a priority along with the leak detection for now getting started.
Yep.
Which is what O'Brien and Garrett recommended. I mean, this isn't something.
I already have one proposal.
Yeah.
We talked to them in the morning, one sent me a proposal back, but that's.
But that's sort of sidebar of joining the water district.
Totally
I don't think we
sidebar.
need to do that right now. We have a perfectly good water source. I believe that probably other municipalities have closed their reservoirs, they'll go find out probably 10 or 20 years down the road, they're gonna be reopening them back up because the need for water in the United States is gonna be tremendous. The South and the Southwest, they're starving for water. I could see the Great Lakes being a source through a canal or a massive aqueduct of water leaving the Great Lakes.
And that's the point. The point is that I'm trying to make is that we should use our water as well as Dunker's water to be able to establish ourselves in Stockholm County as like the district. The district should be able to provide water to all municipalities around here, at least in the same water plan, whatever it's called, there are. That's why I urge the North County Water District Board to really consider our proposal. My problem is, and I'm saying it again and again, if Erie County Water Authority comes down here, everybody else is going to die away. This is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I don't want for the area.
Well, with the city of Dunkirk contract, I don't think that's for 40 years that you can't.
Well, let's back up on that one just a second, okay? Number one, the city of Dunkirk is convinced in the ironclad nature of their contract, okay? I'm here to tell you that there is no contract on the planet that can't be broken, especially the fact if they should not be able to supply what they say they can. And from the numbers that we've received, it seems very questionable whether they can. Additionally, the mayor and I did go to a meeting where Clark Patterson Lee, the vice president, now I forget what the gentleman's name was, did stand up and say, hey, we don't need to put any money into your reservoir because we're going to come down here in 5 years and we're going to supply all your water anyway. All right? Mm-hmm. That's a very scary thought, but it looks like from their maps, they're connecting their own projects and making that a possibility. We don't want that. I mean, we're the village of Fredonia. We want to use our own water. We want to supply water. Dunkirk has put a bunch of money into their upgrades. They don't want it either. But the North County Water District may not have the same plan.
But they get their water from the lake as well, correct?
Everybody gets it from the same source. That's
Everybody
a
gets it
problem.
from the same source. And
Now,
that
that's a
is-
big problem, of course.
You're
That's
just
a big
getting it from
problem.
the lake up here, or you're getting it from the lake down here?
Sure.
That was the point that the county executive made. Very, he was very forceful, he was very, he made that point very well, that that's not smart to have the same, from the same source, the first and the second, and you back up.
And I'm not saying not be a backup supplier, not have an emergency connection, and not use each other's water. But one of the big questions nobody has ever asked any of the engineers from either side is, we treat our waters differently. We have a different water source. Lake is a different water source.
Yeah.
Chemically, what's that going to do to each other's pipes? Whether we supply a large amount to the city of Dunkirk, or they supply to us. Are we going to have James Place all over the village because the chemicals from the city of Dunkirk's water treatment plant are going to act differently? Nobody's ever answered or asked even these kind of questions. I mean, that's even a bigger question to me. What's it going to do to our system?
Well, if it runs every day, it can do many things to our system because, as you said, different chemicals. We have different chemicals. We can ruin their system. But that's not the point. The point is not to run, to mix the two together. The point is to have different, like we provide water to this area, they provide water to that area. Or, today they can provide water to this area, so we go along. But, I never meant that the two waters should mix in any ways. It's not going to be a good idea. Not for the water, not for the people, not for the pipes, not for anything. But I think it should be kept
There's a lot
separate.
of unanswered questions that need to be answered, and I guess if my final decision would be continue to utilize and upgrade our reservoir and our spillway, and if we produce more water than we use, we should use it as a commodity and figure out a way to increase revenues with it, whether it's a private bottling or selling it to, trying to find more customers to sell it to. I don't know.
And that was exactly my point when I started discussing it. And my only condition at that time was that we keep our water and nobody's going to push the village either now nor in 10 years into decommissioning the reservoir. That was the initial point. That's why when that happened, and we were at the same meeting, and Mr. Rick Henry, that was his name, said, why you want to spend $15 million in your reservoir when you can join the Erie County Water Authority? I said, well, if that's the thought, we can leave. Darren and I, we can leave right now. But
Well, see,
that was
no
the-
one's really looking beyond 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years down the road. I mean, again, I really believe that water is going to be the most sought-after resource. If it's an investment of $5 or $6 million to upgrade our reservoir.
That's the position of World Health Organization.
But I don't want the water board or the public to think that we just want to maintain our own little island because we don't want to be involved in any kind of regionalism. I don't believe that's the case at all. I believe we need to look down the road and provide our residents an investment that's going to be 40, 50 years, investment of upgrading our reservoir. It hasn't been upgraded in what, 50, 60 years?
Ever.
A whole lot, ever?
Probably.
So it's at its useful life. It needs to be replaced. Unfortunately, we didn't do any preventive maintenance along the way. Maybe that needs to be done once we upgrade the facilities and the reservoir. And it'd be an investment for 50 or 60 years down the road.
Having gone to the meetings, I think the scary thing is that it's not that people aren't looking down the road, it's that what the picture is down the road. The picture that we are getting from the North County Water District and from the Erie County Water Authority and from Clark Patterson Lee is the decommissioning of both Fredonia and Dunkirk and Erie County supplying all of our water. So I think we need to recognize that and plan accordingly because they certainly have a long-term goal and a long-term picture. And I think we need to recognize
too.
that and move forward accordingly.
I don't know if anybody saw that massive water main break from the Erie County Water Authority in Evans just recently, just a couple of days ago. Boy, that put a crimp in that area, didn't it? There's no water backup.
Also, another incident too, where there was a house fire, that couldn't provide water to a house.
Yep.
Yeah, another incident there.
Where's that? Really?
Yeah, it was in the news, they had a major fire, house fire somewhere, and, something happened that the line went dry. They had to literally pump water, I don't know, what'd they say, a mile away or something, they were pumping mile to put out a house fire because,
Yeah.
because their hydrants failed.
They aren't with the
Well, we have to
problem
be
there.
careful.
No, yeah, they're not the perfect
I think
solution.
there needs to be redundancy for every system, and that's what everybody should be looking at, not total, complete, massive control. I mean, I don't even think the Erie County Water Authority on their own could supply all of Erie County and us, because I think the North County Water District is also looking westward towards northeast as well. So, I mean, you got connections both ways too, so,
Yeah, but that's us, so it's
I'm sorry?
nothing.
That is us, that's part of, Brockton needs, all they need to do is go 7 miles down the road to Westfield's connection, or, to northeast right there, and they're right there. I mean, it's not unheard of or unfeasible, it's a possibility.
And it shouldn't be. It should be feasible. It should be okay. I just want to put the village and the North County Water District in the driving seat. I don't want to be, and I have to tell you, I'm not sure if you were at that meeting when I went and met with the North County Water District Board. There were members of that board that said, well, probably I prefer to go to Erie County Water Authority before I come to you. And I'm not going to name the numbers, but they were there.
In a way, I'm not trying to defend them, I can understand their displeasure. A year and a half ago, we did a presentation of staying out of it altogether, and now we're saying we.
That was a
That was
totally
as a
different presentation. It was a presentation
I get
based
it.
on decommissioning our reservoir.
I get all that, but now we're saying, did you, I don't, was one of the main things to say that we could get grants more easily if we were a part of a regional solution as well? I'm
Yes.
sure that
That's,
probably,
I think that's a very good,
that's a very good thing, but I can understand there's
I
been
don't.
tensions and friction before. I'm sure that didn't help, and I can understand both sides, okay? I see.
But that's why I said earlier that when, in the however many years they've been discussing, it's probably 10 years. The target, it's been a moving target, you know what I mean? So the village was presented with a host of different contracts all along the way that appeared to be continually changing. So I think that's why the board, I guess, I can't really speak for people who were on the board before I was, but since I've been on the board, that has been the hesitation to join or say we want to be part of this, because it's always been, it's always been a different version of the contract, or it had always been a different version of the
And that's why we're
contract.
trying to present our contract this time. We checked, when I took office, Mr. Horrigan, before I took office, right after the election, he presented me a scenario. The scenario was to keep our reservoir for now, and 5-10 years down the road, we get rid of it as soon as we find the money. Well, that was the scenario I was presented. That was the scenario, that was the numbers we worked on. I found it that it was not acceptable. I went to the board agreed with me, we stopped. And then it was another scenario. George Borello asked me if we can be the backup. That's a new scenario. I saw it, I checked it, I thought it was a good idea, I still think it's a good idea.
That's the scenario we presented to Roger and I. It's a very good idea. That makes the most sense.
So-
I get the numbers thing. If we're part of the water district as a customer, they would knock down their rates and everybody would get super rates. I get that because we're a large
No,
number of
Our
suppliers.
numbers are going to go
Actually
up.
went up.
Ours would go up.
It would knock down their rates.
Their rates would go down, what they're
Right.
currently paying, yes.
Give us.
It's like the town of Hanover is never gonna join the North County Water District, okay? The town of Hanover is never gonna join the North County Water District because the village of Silver Creek bonded for the transmission lines from Erie County and is paying that debt service. So the town of Hanover makes use of those lines and gets the beneficial rate of the Erie County Water District because they don't have to pay the debt, all right? So the town of Hanover as a whole is never gonna join the North County Water District because their rates would go up substantially. So you've got that portion, they're not gonna play with us, okay? I think that the two things that need to be our proposal, and pretty much just our proposal, is we're not closing the reservoir, we all agree on that. Why would you get rid of a source of clean, potable water outside of the lake? And number two, we wanna be a supplier in some capacity, we're not coming in as a customer because we've got a reservoir. I think until the North County Water District agrees to those 2 points, all the rest of it's nonsense.
I also want to mention grants, okay? And if this gives the third largest community in the county a better ability to acquire grants through federal grants and such as that, because of our now connection with the possibility of being a supplier into the county's North Water District. That was arranged by the county, which the county has an interest in every community, not just some communities, that they should then work with us to make sure that those grants are a possibility for us, where they may not be otherwise. This is, I would think that
I think
that's part of their job.
That's right. I don't understand why they thought it was a bad point, or they want to come to us because it's going to be easier to get grants. That's a good thing,
It's a good
because
thing, right?
we're going to have more water, we're going to have cleaner water. What's the point? What's the problem there?
Right.
Yes.
I think the message is that the village of Fredonia wants the regionalism.
Yep.
We want the redundancy for our own residents, for safety purposes. If they have an algae bloom, we want to be able to supply, clean portable water, not only to the village of Fredonia, but to the surrounding district. And I think that is a solid proposal, but I think that's where the proposal needs to stop until they can agree to that. And right now they can't because of that contract with the city of Dunkirk.
Well, but the contract doesn't stop us from being the backup.
It does, in that the contract says they will be the sole supplier, period. It doesn't say anything about backups, it doesn't say anything about if we do wrong. Basically, the only way out of that contract is if the city of Dunkirk could not provide the water that they said they want to.
Okay.
Years ago, we had a contract with the city of Dunkirk where we could supply water to each of us when we needed it. And that was one of the purposes of putting in the line on Main Street. That's an option I think that we could pursue. So we have an obstacle being able to provide a supplemental water to the district, but it might be feasible to just have discussions with the city of Dunkirk about being their, a supplemental supplier for them, which has already been in existence in the past.
It's my understanding that the agreement still exists, but the last time we tried to use it, the pump station and stuff was in
Was
such
working.
disrepair that they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is address that issue.
I guess so that's a good point, Jim, when you said supplemental to the city, not to the North County Water District. So, because the city has a contract with the North County Water District to be their supplier. Does that mean that we can't be a supplier to them?
No,
Well, then
no, and we
there's-
do have the intermunicipal agreement. That's still in
Anyways.
place.
Yeah,
The problem is we cannot easily follow that agreement because the interconnect and the pump station didn't work the last
As
time we
well.
tried.
Yeah, not only
Well,
that,
it's-
I don't think it's gonna be enough, even after we fix it, to supply the whole city of Dunkirk.
but then.
Well, that was
No,
never the
but
intent though.
that was never the intent.
It was
So,
a supplemental source.
Yeah, I understand the
Yeah.
small stuff,
And,
the small scale, yes, of course.
But then can the city say, make that larger connection down Central Avenue and give us that large line? And then we would then supply to the
But
city
the
and
point is,
as
that,
they
that
decide.
connection can only be part of the North County Water District, because otherwise, who's gonna pay for it?
Right, that would have to come through the
That's
city.
$2.9
the
million
city.
dollars, which I am not willing to say that the village is gonna
Right.
pay.
Yeah, that connection would be a water district connection where we have an intermunicipal agreement with the city of Dunkirk,
Right.
12-inch line connection currently where it's just that we need to do the upgrades to have it operate at full capacity.
That would be up to the
That's
city
fine,
to
we
figure
can
out.
do the
The
upgrades.
city would have to figure out how to come up with that money and make that connection, I suppose, and that would be the, on their.
Well, I don't know, it would help the city out more than it would help us, because we're certainly not going to be able to supply that amount of water to Dunkirk anyway, we just
No.
don't have it. But I'm just suggesting a good place to start, it just makes it more feasible for us to get going on fixing that pump station
Right.
and making that connection. And that's a good place to start. In the meantime, you might want to start inviting some type of discussion with the city of Dunkirk, seeing as how they've put, the district, have kind of put both of us in the same boat, threatening to bring Erie County in here, but not just threatening us with that, they're threatening the city of Dunkirk with that. I mean, it's a talk, but might be a good place to
They-
start.
I'm not sure if they believe they have the need to do that. That's not that was not my impression.
That's not what we get. We kind of walked into that meeting thinking that was what it was gonna be. And then, after, how many meetings did we have? 3, 4 meetings?
At
Where,
least.
where the county executive and everybody else said, oh, this is a great idea. Then all of a sudden, they whipped up this contract and said, but, okay? And the way we left that meeting was, we will do anything that is necessary to protect the city's rights into that exclusive contract. So, I mean, again, that's the threshold problem. Without the North County Water District dealing with that contract, we're just spinning our wheels.
Well, what I'm suggesting though is that we have some negotiation, or not necessarily even negotiation, but some discussions with the city of Dunkirk. Get this contract updated and renewed that we've had in the past. Get our pump station and that connection made, so that at least there's some water that we can provide each other if it's necessary. And it's just a good starting point, and then who knows what we can develop after that. In the meantime, you're right, it's all a conjecture, we don't know if they're gonna be able to meet the needs of the district or not, but that's not our problem.
But it could be our opportunity.
It could be.
And it could be a problem too, because again, if Erie County Water Authority
Well,
comes,
right, but if we're in it together with the city, then it makes it a little more difficult for them to sell that idea, that's my point.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I 100% agree.
And the
with
mayor
that.
and I went to those meetings with the idea we would be standing cheek and jowl with the city of Dunkirk. However, they're not quite so interested
Not as
because they
much.
got a contract.
Not as much.
It's like if I own it, why should I talk to you?
Jim, your point of getting that connection and those pumps working is critical to getting repairs done at the water treatment plant because the different clarifiers they have to replace they shut their production down, so you have to have
So we have to have
that
a supply.
source and
That's
supply
right.
in addition to what we have.
I don't think they have any problems allowing us to buy water from them.
Right now, the
Not
pump
one-
station
not one
currently
bit.
works, it's just at an 8-inch line. So I know, Jack was contracted to make sure that worked before he left the supervisor's job.
I don't know.
So-
Was that done?
Yeah. that's-
Well, even still, you're draining, when we need water from the city of Dunkirk, we're depleting everybody, all the businesses on Vineyard Drive, so that's not a
No, we
viable.
can't, if we make it so it's at capacity, at the highest capacity that those pipes will allow to go through. And with the 12-inch line, those pumps will actually.
Oh, yeah, with the
pump more.
with the upgrade that
But-
go right to the 12-inch, you're
But if-
correct.
But if we, currently, we don't turn it on at full capacity because it vacuums our lines down. So,
Oh, yeah, once the upgrades are made, then that should be no problem.
And if it's 50,000, is it 50,000? I'm sure you can find 50,000
and
folks.
going the other way.
See,
we
that's,
have
that's
to
why,
reduce the pressure.
he's the best, I have to say.
Going from Fredonia to Dunkirk, we have to reduce the pressure because we blow the lines up. We have
That's
so-
right,
our
yes,
Our
yeah.
headwater is so
Yes.
large.
And that was the last problem when they struck a main, or when they were diving or whatever they did, or digging up by the water treatment plant, where they had a pressure reduction valve that malfunctioned, or they were supposed to have replaced or fixed, and it didn't work. And that's why we couldn't supply them with any water, and that's why they were kind of in a predicament for a short period of time. It wasn't a pump house or anything like that, it was a pressure relief valve, because what they wanted to do was, if they couldn't supply it from the pump house, or go do it from a hydrant by Middlesex or wherever it was, and run a 4 or 5-inch line to the hydrant and do it that way, but you still have the pressure, so it didn't really solve the problem.
Actually, I think I'm forgetting the point that the pump only works when it has to be pumped to Fredonia. We don't need to pump to
Yeah.
Dunkirk.
Yeah.
So
right.
if Dunkirk needs water from us, that pump station is irrelevant. We can.
But it was a valve that didn't work
It's a
last
pressure
time.
relief.
Do you
Well,
remember?
Well, it's a
Yeah.
actually, it's a pressure relief though, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Yeah.
reduces the pressure, yeah. So that's the case. It's not that we have to pump it to Dunkirk, because in order to turn it on to Dunkirk, it was, we had to make sure that we can do that. But my understanding is Jack took care of that. So if the water can be turned
Well, we
on,
might want to confirm that to make sure that
Yeah,
that pump
Tony
is
can-
operational.
Because my
I'm
understanding
not
was the last
sure.
time the city of Dunkirk needed water from us and we tried to provide it, it didn't work.
And that was
And that
way
was-
after
And that was when we
that.
got, was when we got the
I thought that
idea.
was before Jack left.
No, it was
No,
last
that
this year,
that was
actually.
after. The idea is that it needs to be run on a semi-regular
Yeah.
basis.
That was why
We
we-
need to shoot Dunkirk, a few thousand gallons, they need to shoot us back a few thousand gallons
To
to
make
keep
sure
all the
ours-
valves and the pumps and everything working. When it's not
We
used for a
agreed on
long period of
that,
time,
yes.
Correct.
it doesn't work, which is what happened last time.
Oh, well, so that can be verified though.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I believe, Jim, I can't remember how long ago it was it April?
I think so.
I think it was
yeah. But
April.
This
Where
year.
they tried, April of 2018, where they tried to turn it on, didn't run.
Mhm.
And that's something we need to address.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? So are we agreed to write a letter of intent?
Roger, have any thoughts, Roger?
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
I absorbed everything everybody said, and you all made really good points. What has the water district proposed to us? They're just looking for us to come up with a proposal to them?
Originally, they were asking us to be a customer. And actually, even the last time I
Right, I
went there,
understand that.
they were asking me, so you want to be a supplier and a customer, or just supplier? Which makes no sense to me as a question. If I am a supplier, how am I going to be a customer? But that was the original point, because in order for the district to work, they need more customers, they don't need more
Right.
suppliers. So from that point on, I'm not sure. We got the letter that everybody got the same letter.
Right.
And I'm not sure what they are asking. What I'm sure of is what we want to offer. That's where I want to start, that the Village of Fredonia is offering this as part of being not only good neighbors, be part of the originalism, because I do believe in that. I believe that we, together with the city of Dunkirk, we can make a very powerful water supplier for the area. So this is where we are. They, as you saw, they turned on the water, they cut the ribbon, they did all that. They were wondering why I'm not there. Anyways,
They weren't.
I didn't get anybody.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't get anybody. I think just my real question is, what are they, what are they really looking for? I mean, does anyone
Customers.
really know? Yeah, well, I understand the customer portion of it. Obviously, we're not gonna be going as a customer. And we have a commodity that we can offer to them.
Yeah, but we offer
How
them
much do they
customers.
want? How often do they want it? What are they willing to pay? I mean, we don't know any of those. So basically,
And
we're
that's
coming
the
with a
point.
letter of intent saying, look, we're willing to supply Dunkirk or you water, period.
Yes.
That's, I agree with that. That's the point, because they don't offer any of this information. They actually asking the same information of us, and I don't think, as Dan said,
Yeah, I'm not
it's-
willing to
it's-
give up too much information right now until.
We don't have the information
Right.
anyways to work with
Right.
right now, because if we take it face value that the city of Dunkirk can provide the 10 million gallons a day, which the map that you just opened there, that's the map they gave me. Doesn't say that, but this is what they give us. Randy and Mayor Rosas assured everybody that they're very able to provide everybody with water. So
Well, I'm in agreement with Jim. I really think that we should sit down with Dunkirk and say to them, look, you want our water? We'll talk to you. That's just how I feel.
you know that they said the same thing. Somebody actually came to me from the city of Dunkirk to say, you don't need to go to the district, we can sell you water. So it's
Goes both ways.
both ways, yeah.
I guess you have to convince the public that we're doing the right thing, because everybody's saying right now, all you gotta do is put a 24-inch interconnect between the city and the village, and the water district can provide you with all the water you need at a lower rate, and it's only a $2.9 million cost. And we're looking at rehabilitating our reservoir and the spillway and our water treatment plant at whatever X million dollars, and we need to assure our citizens that this is a very good investment, because I feel down the road, it's gonna really pay off. I think that's,
I mean, that's only the amount of time I spend on this whole thing, which is about 3 years now. I think that's enough to prove our sincerity. This is, nothing was taken lightly. Just because somebody came and said, you know, if we put it together, your rate is gonna go very low. Well, we didn't take that as a face value. We wanted proof. We paid for that study $150,000. It came back, no, actually, our water is gonna go from whatever it is now to $12.50. That's not a good idea. Then they approached us again to be a supplier. We looked at it again. It was nothing was taken lightly. So I don't know what else to do to convince the public that we are looking for the best interest of the area and the people.
well, like the water district, that's a 40-year investment for the communities that are, and I'm not saying the water district is a good thing for the communities that can benefit from it. It's a 40-year investment for these communities. The upgrades to our infrastructure and the water treatment plant and the reservoir would be a 30-year investment for our residents. And I think it's really gonna pay off, I really do. I don't see it as a, you know, instead of spending $2 million, you're spending $12 million or whatever it is. I don't really, I look at it as an investment for the future generations that are gonna be living here and in the complete area. And not just the village of Fredonia, it's an investment for the whole community and region if we can supply stuff, so.
I agree. Dr. Banks?
Well, you paid 150,000, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, well, as you know, I mean, you paid $150,000 for a study that very clearly indicated that it's cost us a lot less to bite the bullet, to repair, upgrade the reservoir versus joining the district. We'd have to decommission the reservoir, which is much more expensive. A shorter term in terms of financing, 10 years. We can finance the reservoir up to 30 years. It spreads the cost out. Interest rates are low. Rick did the numbers, and You know, do you wanna pay $12 a thousand for water and join the district, or do you want to pay maybe 6? Maybe it might be a
Maybe
little bit
7?
more,
Yeah.
but, believe me, other communities are they're gonna be paying as much or more than what we're paying right now.
Bottom line too, you gotta look at the quality of your water. I'm not saying the quality of
That's
Lake
right.
Erie water is bad, but we have a source that's coming from the Continental Divide, basically. And, you know, it's not, it doesn't have the possibility of being contaminated by industry or, you know,
Yeah.
nature with the blooms of algae and stuff that's happening near
In other parts of
Detroit,
Lake Erie, right, in other parts of Lake Erie, over by Cleveland. south
Cleveland,
of
Detroit, or
Cleveland,
wherever.
West of Cleveland, yeah.
So,
Well, you know, I don't want to talk about the source of water. I'm sure they clean it very nicely and they have very good water. Okay, so what are we deciding now? What is our decision?
Well,
Write
we
the
should
letter of
move
intent?
forward with the letter, but I think you
Is
should be
everyone okay with that?
yes.
clear where
Yeah,
we stand.
like that.
Just as long as we're clear where we stand, as this will be a supplemental
Okay.
support.
Very good. All right. So that's one. The second one is, I put it there before I talk with you in the morning. It's something that we discussed before, and certainly Roger brought it forward. You know that once a week, DPW has to send one of the workers down to the wastewater treatment plant in order to hollow the sludge. And I understand that this is actually wasting the time of one of our workers, and we don't have too many and equipment to do that. The request is, and I fully support it, to to contract out to do the hauling of the slugs. We have one proposal already, and I think we're expecting another 2. Yes, another 2. So as soon as I have those proposals, I'll come back to you to see if we can do that. The way I think about it, if it even comes close to being about the same expense, about the same amount of money, we are much better if we contract it out instead of using our worker and have the worker doing other things for the village.
It would free up a piece of equipment, wouldn't it, too, Tom?
Well, my biggest concern, and I've just been here literally like 2 weeks of the job, but one of the most glaring things that have been brought to my attention and what I've noticed is that, as the mayor clearly states, you're using one of your few key operators once a week to go down to the wastewater treatment plant to haul out sludge and grit with one of the 10-wheel dump trucks the city has parked there. The equipment is a concern, but more importantly, you're taking a key operator that's integral in operations of occurrence challenges, water breaks, snowstorms, and you know, at some point, a person has to leave the normal heavy workload to go down there, so you're losing a key person on the operational standpoint. And then you also have to consider, you know, wear and tear on the truck, fuel, depreciation, maintenance, because there's a lot of maintenance. The more miles you drive, obviously, there's more attention. So, in Dunker, for instance, that's a yearly bid for sludge and waste hauling. It works rather well, and I think that this is an opportunity to at least get 3 proposals to see what we're talking about monetarily or fiscally wise. And if it makes sense, fine. If not, doesn't hurt to look and check. But my main concern is the manpower drain at times and future manpower drains, not to mention the equipment that we're currently tying up.
When you get that proposal, you can compare It's hard to kind of guess the amount of maintenance that you would normally do in a truck like that, but you certainly know about the amount of man hours used and.
Labor is easy to track.
It is able to compare that too, so.
Well, I also think it's gonna free up a piece of equipment that he could utilize somewhere else in the department
Exactly.
I mean, with
or
the-
another one of our
right.
departments could use.
Yeah.
There are 2 trucks down there right now. One that I understand hasn't been utilized quite a while. It's an older Sterling and it's in
So you have
disrepair.
everything that you need to fix it, right?
Right, the truck that's down there that they are using is newer, in much better shape. So hypothetically, from my understanding, the mechanics already have some of the components needed to repair the older truck that's not being used that's down there. That with what they can handle in-house and or if we have to sub out some of the work because of certifications of specific type of work that needs to be done, the truck is salvageable. I would rather use that truck to keep down there and bring the newer, more multi-use type 10-wheeler up to the plant.
So I guess what you're saying is that there's still some operations that require a truck down there. But the old truck will suffice once you're able to fix it.
Right.
And to do those amount of operations, but you won't need it for sludge.
Right, they will use it for, you know, sometimes even with a roll-off, you need to move the roll-off forward or push it back, depending on where the
Shoot.
discharge from the centrifuge is piling up in the box, if you will. That's very minor compared to taking the truck, you know, putting it on the road, tying up an operator. Actually, you wouldn't need a truck at all, but there's an old tractor down there that they are having problems with. They use it to load the grit from the grit hopper over and dump it into the truck that goes in the landfill. But conceivably, if there was a tractor that had a little more capacity, power, you could tug the 30-yard roll-off with rollers underneath wheels. And you may conceivably not even need to leave a truck there all week.
Would that one tractor you have sitting in the yard that Perry had mentioned during the budget negotiations to repurpose with a bucket, would that possibly be? There was one that
Yes.
was sizable that would be able to handle that.
The John Deere. I would certainly like the mechanics to take a look at that and give me an idea. It's very possible, so I'll look into that.
Super.
But that's the whole concept of this second point. Brainstorming, thinking of ways to maybe make things a little more efficient and better use of our limited manpower. And we're looking at other things, but that's what that is relative to.
I was in favor of that when Roger brought that up a bit of time ago, and I was in favor in looking into that, and so I'm glad you are.
Yeah, I mean, I know Roger had and other people have, and
Just a matter of getting
things
somebody
get
to do it.
mentioned and, you know, everybody
Yeah,
gets
we keep
busy.
going back and forth, but let's do it.
Let's do it,
So
right.
I've taken steps today to get 3 different proposals, cost estimates, and we'll see what that comes in at.
Yeah.
If it makes sense fiscally, fine, if not,
Right.
like I say, it can't hurt to investigate.
We can take a
Doesn't
look at other
cost you
options.
anything.
so- Sure,
That's right.
thanks.
No, actually, thank you for bringing that up again.
Sure.
I think it's a good idea. Now, going further down the same road, I just got not just, you sent me the proposal for the skid steer loader, the sidewalk.
Not the skid steer, the sidewalk plow.
The sidewalk plower, I'm sorry, yes, the
Yes.
sidewalk plower. And it seems that it's gonna cost around $40,000, a little less than $40,000.
Right, it's
To
a
get a new one.
comparable size sidewalk plow to the one that is now basically operational. It has a bucket, well, the option would include a bucket, so it can be used for more seasonal work than just snow plowing. It would have a bucket on it, so the Parks Department guys can use it, we can use it in the yard. You know, you can use it anywhere we need to, scraping, backblading, millings, whatever, multi-use.
Yeah, I think that's.
And then in the winter, it also has a quick disconnect or connect mount for the snowplow blade. Directional blade for, you know, plowing some of the bigger sidewalks and fitting in between hydrants and all. That, I just got that today and I emailed it to the mayor. So that's something for you to, consider.
Actually, I have a copy for everyone.
I was gonna
I
say,
have a question on that. There was a tractor that had been purchased for plowing that apparently was too large for.
That
the
was too
size.
large, yeah. we
Yeah,
can
I-
use it.
Where is that, what is that tractor being used for? Where is it?
It's down at the yard. It's been used for brush hogging and side cutting. It's a great tractor and it's down at Pomfret. My understanding is they share it or use it, so it's down there
Do
and
we have a lot of use for it though, outside the town? I mean, would it be worth seeing if the Pomfret would be willing to purchase it from us as opposed to using it at, I mean, if we use it very little.
Doug and I had this conversation, I
We got
know both of us are
people who've
fighting our
been
lip
involved
right
in
now.
this longer than I, but, that's,
Well, that was a mistake, a clear mistake. We're trying to fix it now. The thing is, we can't go to another winter like last year.
No, I understand what the sidewalk plow need, but I'm looking to get the most utilization out of that one that doesn't seem to be useful to us because its
That's
size.
the one you sent.
And it's being used for brush hogging and
Well-
side, but which mostly is being used by the town of Pomfret.
yeah, I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm just saying that when I walked into the scenario, what I was shown was that the former existing sidewalk plow
Right,
is not operational.
correct.
So this is something that is to resolve
That issue, correct.
an immediate problem, challenge.
Right.
Whether the other one that was purchased is, which again is a multi-purpose tractor, and it's a great unit.
But if we're not using it.
But if
my
it's
point
not
is-
for whatever reason
We should-
working in the village for the needs that the gentlemen have, that's
I
something
mean,
that,
just sort of like when we still have a police car that's used for, if it's still usable, but it's kind of past life expectancy for a police department, we either find a new location in the village to use it where it can be used, streets department or something, or we sell it. So, my thought being is this, if the old tractor, the tractor that doesn't seem to be used to its best capacity, then maybe we should look at finding a way to capitalize on that and investing that money into the new, more user-friendly piece of equipment. I guess that's just my point. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me or not, I don't know.
Jim, Roger, and Tony, Roger and I had sat down a while back this summer with Jude Gardner, town Pomfret supervisor, and Perry at the time. And they were looking to like a shared services thing. And actually, I think Dan, I don't know if Dan didn't have any issue with it at the time. I think Rick didn't have any issue with it. I think most recently Jude said there was some issue with the town that they couldn't do it. But I have no idea what was the issue with the town. But that was kind of the thought that Jude and Perry had. They use it during the summertime for brush chopping. We use it for snow removal and other things in wintertime, kind of share the cost, the maintenance, everything on it. But for whatever reason, I'm not sure why that fell through. But I think it still can be utilized in the winter months. I know,
oh, definitely.
like our cul-de-sacs and stuff like that. I mean, we don't have any smaller, like 1-ton trucks or pickup trucks with plows on them. So the smaller streets,
Dead end.
Hart Street and stuff like, dead end, streets that a full-size plow can't go down.
Right.
Obviously, that's too big for most of the sidewalks, but it could be utilized for that. I realize,
Betsy did say at the wastewater treatment plant that the tractor because you did mention the tractor down there has some issues, that they were gonna be in need of something to plow with down there. Because she was talking about issues with plowing, but I know
that would be the tractor that's in their yard currently that Perry had talked about during the budget process about possibly purchasing a bucket for it and utilizing it that way. The John Deere, whatever one that's still usable in the yard there.
I think the issue we were talking about bringing that tractor down and getting it to Betsy at the plant. The problem was it was too large to fit in the door.
The backhoe.
Yeah, the backhoe.
But this is a different tractor.
This is a different tractor. that
Yeah.
we're talking about.
So-
But this one, yes, I mean, I think, I agree that this is probably a good idea.
So if you could determine if we actually utilize it enough to make sense, otherwise it may be a possibility to see if the town wants to purchase it and go from there. I don't know.
Something that fits our needs.
Now, the biggest question, are we buying this equipment that we need? The proposed one? Because otherwise we have to come up with a plan as to how we're gonna plow the sidewalks, which we had a
How
huge
soon do you
problem
need
last
it?
year.
How soon do you need it?
In November?
For winter.
Okay, well, maybe it's a project. for-
The good news is,
Yeah?
this is a local
Are they gonna-
supplier, it's a
are they-
state contract price, it's in stock.
I was gonna say that. if
They're
it's
willing
just,
to train, they'll do anything to train the guys or test, you know, we can check it out, test it, whatever. Again, having walked in at this late juncture and hitting, the road running with my feet going in many directions, which is kind of fun,
I'm sure.
I've got a lot left to, you know, absorb and ascertain as to what are all the priorities. But it seems kind of unanimous that the current issue of plowing in the village, in the tighter spots, sidewalks, around parking meters, some of the ramps near the walkway.
That's the one with the bad.
There's no fault with anybody with other pieces of equipment that were purchased. All I'm saying is I know that from what I've heard, we have a void right now in what we can do.
And we do have a problem in the winter with sidewalks not being plowed.
That's what I
It's
hear.
an issue that we hear every year from people in the community
This
that
year
they're
was
concerned.
really
This
bad.
was a bad, this
This
past
year
winter
was
was, there were
really
lots
bad.
of complaints.
I was
So,
gonna look into that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I think.
Tony, you were gonna look into whether we could use CHIPS money for street equipment?
There is, it has been done in the past, where you can use specifically some CHIPS money towards equipment that has at least a useful life over 10, 12 years. That would be something that we could reach out to our CHIPS administrator in Buffalo for clarity on. It's worth looking into. But there again, you know, the other thing to weigh is if you're taking your CHIPS money for equipment, it's less to your roads. So pros and cons of that, like everything.
Well, we have a considerable amount of rollover money in the CHIPS program. And we'll be getting some more funding next year. So I'm not saying we should go out and have wild and just buy all kinds of equipment with it, but I mean, something like this.
Well, you can do a blend too. You don't have to use all your CHIPS money
I
to
was gonna ask
fund
if
this.
we
You can
use
blend,
half and half or something.
Yeah,
you know, a
Right.
fraction, a percentage to be determined.
yeah.
And then the rest you can use municipal lease, options. As you know, many other ways to
Yeah.
fund, but
Yeah.
it's just something that you can put out there for thought. That chips can be used partially
Yeah.
or in some matters totally if that's the choice.
Get that clarified first.
Okay,
You gotta clarify that,
Right.
you know, we've done it in Dunkirk in the past. You know, there are, if you go to the CHIPS program, you'll see where it does have provisions for that, but it's an option.
All right, so let's move along.
So
There are more things.
then move into that, or we're definitely looking into buying that then?
I would suggest 100% to buy that thing. I mean, I don't know, it's up to you, it's up to the board.
Well, I think at some point, Jim, you and I rather quickly can get on the phone.
It's not.
Like tomorrow morning.
I'd just like to know if that's an option or not.
Yes.
And at some point in time, I think we need to sit down collectively and start doing a financial plan so that we're not doing this hit and miss. I mean, and make sure that, we're in good shape, but we want to stay that way. And
And I'm just waiting for you to finish with the state report so we can start.
that's what I'm trying to do.
You know, as soon as you're done with the
Yeah.
state report, then we
Yeah,
can
you're
sit
right.
down and,
Who would work on like an equipment, like plan 5-year, 20-year, 10, would that be, I don't know if we even have anything like that, like
Well, each department head can actually develop a 5-year equipment replacement plan.
replacement plans?
and
I think the
submit
fire
it.
department already has.
And some of them already have it, but we need to put it together, and so that you and the board, we can sit down and prioritize with a recommendation from your department heads and have a capital improvement plan in place. So that when pieces of equipment reach their useful life, we know, we planned ahead, we know what's coming, and
Portion money.
we budget for
The
it.
money's there.
I mean, yeah, making the budget with a plan, not making the budget with numbers only, that was the idea always.
Good.
All right, so moving along, we need to promote, we need to have a working supervisor at the DPW. I need to do it as soon as possible. Everybody knows why, so I want you to think about it, and I want you to give the okay to that, because we do need it. We need one as soon as possible, and we need two probably next year. But I just want to put it out there, that we need the working supervisor as soon as possible. Going along.
That involves moving up.
It's a union position, so we're gonna have to bid it to the union.
Right.
And my understanding is there's several guys in the union that are interested, so
From inside,
basically that would be our,
Promotion. Yeah, we're going to promote a laborer
That's correct.
to MEO and then hire a laborer.
Every time you know, then hire a labor.
Yeah.
that's correct.
I think that's
Okay.
best. Also, one more thing about the gas and diesel tanks we talked about. Tony and I were talking about that. They passed inspection, but they are really in bad shape. And we need
What was in bad shape?
the gas and diesel
The gas and
tanks.
diesel. Perry,
The holding tanks.
yeah, they were inspected this year in the spring, Perry informed me, and, I mean, if you look at them, you can see the concern. The, people that do the proprietary work on your system, our system, made it very clear that there's a very strong possibility it may not pass next year. And it's just one of those scenarios where they haven't been, the system, I believe, is, 20 years or 20-some years old. But the tanks need to be cleaned, they have to be inspected, they have to be sandblasted, painted, powder coated, the proper warning, hazardous, situational labels have to be applied, and then the containment berm around the tanks needs to be repaired and brought up to snuff. So, having said that, the proposal that came in from the people that do the system and take care of our system, we just got the proposal, and it's something that probably should be done, within the next 12 months for sure. Well, 12 months from the last inspection, but, there again, it's definitely something that I would strongly recommend we do. It's a
So
preventive maintenance
we own
thing.
these tanks, these are our tanks, they're not a
Yes.
leased piece of equipment that's,
No, my understanding is we own them, and that system went through an upgrade on the software
The pump,
recently.
right, the pump system
Yes.
was redone, the key system, the key
Right,
fob
that was
system.
redone.
You said the estimated cost is about how much?
So is that something you bid out, or you just, there's specific companies that do these?
This is a specific company, I believe it's,
But can
proprietary.
you bid out maintenance or repair or replacement on the fuel tanks?
I
I know of companies that are local that do that.
I do not know what Perry had established at that point, but I know that this is, my understanding, it's probably some kind of proprietary issue with these people because it's their equipment,
Right.
software.
I don't know if that would make,
But-
well, I just thought the tank would be something separate than the pump systems.
Mm.
If we own the tank, it's our responsibility to replace or repair the tank. They handle the pump systems and the electronics of the pumps. I don't know if that, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I know, I mean, again,
I see what you're saying. You're saying is if that's the case with the pumps and stuff, if they actually own the tank, why are they not
Yeah, why aren't they?
maintaining their tank?
Right.
If it needs to
They
be
require
sandblasted
us
and
to do
painted.
so.
I could
Then
see the
replace the
barrier,
tank.
I could see the barrier around would be our responsibility.
Right.
But the tank itself.
well, there again,
So-
we could, you know, like Barry and I were talking, and it's been mentioned, you know, could the current employees do the work of scraping, sanding, priming and all that?
What would the cost of be to call TPS to get 2 new tanks?
Good question. Mm-hmm,
Might be cheaper to buy 2 brand new certified tanks than it is to recondition 2 used tanks.
mm-hmm. Yes, something to look into.
All right.
That's a good
Because
idea.
I know TPS offers that kind of system, you know.
Yeah.
Again, they may have a contract in order for us to buy their fuel, but there might be a way that we could purchase tanks from them because they're a certified company that
Mm-hmm.
sells tanks.
So to clarify this, the 8,400 roughly was to recondition the tanks and fix them up to.
Get them up to code.
To get them up to code as well as the revetment,
Okay, so it wasn't new anything?
no,
No.
Okay.
to get everything repaired and up to code.
All right, I was just throwing out there.
But we do have to do something quickly, because the 8,400 is a drop in the bucket if we have the fuel.
That's right.
Oh, no. That's why hoping our containment wall is there to protect what we need to and make sure that that system's in place in case of a
Mhm.
tank.
It was a
failure.
DEC fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the hazardous material haul away is gonna be a $300,000 project, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right, very good. That, I think I got all of that. And we have this leak sweep. So, that's, oh, no, I have the PPD actually. I want to,
No,
PPD?
no, the emergency water line replacement.
The what? Well, there was a small little problem. It was taken care of. It's nothing to discuss at this moment because everything is back to normal.
Oh, we're okay
Yeah.
with that.
When I wrote it, it was still a problem, not a problem anymore. We are just on target.
About leak detection?
Not the leak detection, no, the emergency water line replacement. Had a problem, we fixed
Were you
it.
gonna talk about leak detection?
I did. Didn't I talk about leak detection? I'm forgetting. I did, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so if there is anything more than you, I need to discuss PPD a little bit.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss, I don't know if Mike, you'd like to discuss any of that? No? Okay. There was a question with the contract of how much that we currently bill the PPD, what we billed last year, and what was estimated to be billed in our budget. When we did the contract negotiations, did you have a cleaned up copy of that, Jim, at all, that everybody could see?
No, I don't.
I can make copies for everybody here. There was an analysis of water meter readings from 2014-15, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18 that was provided to us by Rick, to Trustee Barris and the rest of the PPD board. And the estimates of, based on our rates and their meter readings, were, when we did this analysis, it was based on, I think, kind of what was budgeted, estimated in our budget was 103,000, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark. But in actuality, this last year, to date, we had billed them 142.7, and last year we billed them 166.2. The revenues from the most recent, if we billed them by meter readings, would be 91,000. That would be a loss of roughly around 50,000. But I was thinking of a cost savings analysis, whether, and according to the current contract, they pay around 15 or 16% of the total flow, or whatever, the total costs of the wastewater treatment plant. In reality, what they use is around 3%, and it was calculated, Rick did some calculations based on total, I think, amounts going in or whatever, and they also did a similar one.
10%, where did you get that?
I don't understand that. Can you please explain a little better to me?
Let me get the, from our, because I have some stuff for me to run over. Give me 1 second to find what I'm looking for. The PPD percentage of flow to the wastewater treatment plant. And it goes back down to 2012. Trustee Barris, this is what we had during our meetings here.
Yes.
So this is a spreadsheet of complete flows. If you average over all the number of years, it's actually around 3.35% is actually what they actually,
Goes into the plant?
yes, it goes into the plant. But by the current contract, we're getting billed roughly 15%. Reasoning behind all that was all the things, well, they never really saw that amount because there was credits given in from when we had the carriage house and Cliff Star and that.
BOD was a big.
Yeah, the BOD, that offset a lot of their costs, and they didn't really see that. Now that that's all gone, they're paying without any, of the credits coming in. I guess my question is, if they're only using 3% of the total amount going in, I don't know what the cost of that is. I don't, like, if we would lose them as a customer by saying we don't, 91,000 is too much of a hit to take, you know, if they're only using 3%, you're not losing any operators or anything like that, and it'd be kind of straightforward to know what the cost it would be as far as chemicals and stuff that to treat that 3%. Would it offset the cost of losing $91,000 in revenue? I realize it's a big difference from the $146,000 that we're billing them right now, but that's their point right now, that those calculations in the old contract aren't correct, and to
I'm
go
sorry,
by meter readings.
I don't understand. So they're gonna leave from us and go where?
They could go to the city of Dunkirk about 200 yards down.
Do they have the infrastructure to go?
No, they would have to pay for that, but in the long run, if we keep billing them at the rate they're billing right now, I don't know what the cost would be to do that infrastructure, but they're not happy with the way they're billing right now. I guess the question to the board is, would we be willing to lose, if we don't accept the current contract that they propose right now, the $50,000 loss or a total $91,000 loss?
So my question is, so they going to go into spending millions of dollars to put new infrastructure in because they don't want to pay us the $50,000 for a service that we provide them for years now?
With the current contract, the way it's calculated, yes.
Did they say that? Did they say that they leave?
do
it?
realize-
They did say that.
They do?
I was there. They qualified that by saying that it was not likely that they would do that. So,
Well, what you're missing a little bit of point on is if they would have to spend millions of dollars, and they still would have to pay somebody else for the cost of servicing the product. They still would have influx of the other water that's getting into their sewage, so the Dunkirk's in charge of that, for that too. They're not gonna just say, oh, I'm sorry, we're only gonna go by your.
That's
you know,
right. I mean,
we're
the
gonna-
problem
we're gonna-
is the
They're gonna go by the
INA.
flow of water. They're not gonna go by how much water they use in the pipes.
I know.
The actual flow was
I
3%.
That's the word.
The average actual flow was 3%. I guess there's
Well,
different ways to
but now-
address the inflow and
Now
filtration.
what they're proposing to do is for us to bill them based on their water consumption,
That's correct.
correct?
That's what he's
And-
stating.
At our rate, at our flat, not the flat rate,
No,
just the
because,
rate per thousand.
because we have a base rate that we charge our customers
Yeah.
quarterly, that's for our infrastructure. And because their
And they
pipes
pay
go
dearly
directly,
too.
yeah, and they go right in. So that was the kicker kind of right there, the $10,000 and some change quarterly. I guess there are other options that we didn't discuss with them. I mean, you could do that base rate and then calculate the difference between the meter readings and the total flow and charge them a percentage of the
Yeah.
I&I.
See, in that
These are-
contract, which I didn't like, but I was involved in negotiating it at the time, they can apply for a 10% credit by submitting to us their water consumption. And I don't remember the exact, but I think it was if the water consumption was less than half of their flows, then at the end, we would look at this at the end of the year. They would have to provide us with that information. We could grant them a 10% credit. The contract, the present contract, I mean, I was never happy with it to begin with, but that's the way it's been. And yes, when the biggest factor was when we lost $800,000 in BODs, which they got a credit for. Well, they don't get that credit anymore. But they do get a credit for what they pay us. That's in the calculation. And they get a credit for the money that the town of Concord pays us. So, but it's still, well, and then the percentage of use went up when Carriage House left. So they used to be around 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 at the most percent. The present contract is based on 10% of net cost.
Yes.
Okay, so this combination of losing the BOD revenue and then our the percentage went up because Carriage House left, has caused a significant increase.
So
no
at the
question
end of
about
the
it.
day, are they asking to pay less than the Village of Fredonia pays?
No.
Well,
Well, the state,
actually,
I think they are.
actually they are. I
I think
calculated
actually
that
they think
today.
they are.
And, well,
okay, I'm not here to argue
no,
or
I'm not
anything like
either.
that.
I'm just trying to throw
I
out
want
information.
I want the feeling of the board whether we need to go back to negotiations some more, okay? That's all I'm looking for. I want from the board.
The board should answer that, but to me, it's not acceptable the way it is. I don't know.
Are you actually negotiating, Doug?
Myself, Trustee Barris, and
Or are you supposed
Rick
to be?
were on the, whatever you want to call it, negotiate, we were on the committee. We're on the committee
Yeah,
for the
county
wastewater treatment
attorney,
plant.
prepared a contract, so that was.
But in that negotiation, I have to say, our attorney was not involved in that negotiation. And he didn't
Neither
have
was theirs.
the county attorney.
County
No.
attorney.
But
They were- she was
wasn't
not
present,
involved in
but she drafted
negotiations.
the contract.
The issue was, the contract was legally okay. The problem is the numbers, and I raised that in my analysis, the contract that I emailed the board. The numbers don't run. I mean, if they want to complain about they have to pay for their I&I, well, that's their problem. We still have to process that water. The Village of Fredonia still has to pay to process that water. And so to switch the calculation is not only going to cost the taxpayers money, but according to the numbers we've run, is actually going to make the rate less for them than our own people, which doesn't make a bit of sense.
Jim, do you have all these calculations and so forth and so on that we could, the committee here could
That's
look
one of the
at?
things I was working on today. I'm
That'd
not
be interesting to
quite
look
complete with
at.
it, but I'd be glad to, and all it is it's comparing the two scenarios so that, and you can look at some numbers, if you, which I would like you to do, really.
I think
to
it would-
understand it.
That would behoove us if
And
Trustee
then
Barris could sit down
I
with
can
you.
calculate the average rate per thousand they pay and what we're paying.
Okay,
So then you can see then for yourself how that. how
And the
that
biggest
comes
problem
out.
is always the I&I. They have to deal with that. If they live from us and they build the infrastructure and they got the city of Dunkirk, they're gonna be built for that too. Nobody's gonna all of a sudden forget that or forgive that. I mean, they have to, and we have the same problem too. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have the same problem too. And we have to deal on our side.
And I think that the point of having the flow meters in there, that was to deal with exactly that. Is that whatever comes in, we have to process, and that's all there is to it. It's clean, it's plain, it's simple.
It's not that clean.
Well, it's not clean. It's pretty dirty.
well, Jim,
It's
if you
dirty.
could come up with that, it'd be great if Trustee Barris and I could sit down with you, and then we could contact the PPD board and discuss this
In the
further.
meantime, there's a quarterly billing that has to go out. So I'm suggesting that we bill it based on the present contract for
Oh,
now.
absolutely. This contract is not
But it's
taking
still-
effect.
still in effect.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we're still under the current contract. We're
Okay,
not under-
well, I
And this
just-
wasn't a contract, a renewal. The contract, I think you stated on the radio, this was a simple, this was not this was a current contract that was ongoing.
Yeah.
We're just revamping it and trying to make, that's the thing. I can't speak for trustee Barris, but I wasn't trying to sell the village down the river.
No,
We're trying to make things equitable and making sure everybody pays their fair share, but according to the.
Next time, maybe we should talk to the board first, to see what they want before you go
Yeah,
to talk
before
to
we
other
go to
boards.
committee.
I think that
Before
would
we,
be
come up with a
perfect,
conclusion
actually.
for, actual change of.
Well, we had to have a baseline of what they proposed, okay, so we go from there. That's the whole idea of a committee, I don't bring it to, otherwise the whole board's a committee, I don't know what to tell you, you know? So I would feel comfortable if you would provide us with those details when you get it, we'll sit down with you, you can explain it to us, and you could also be part of the committee to meet with the PPD board. I think that would behoove us too as well. I mean, we're not the numbers people here.
After I get the annual report,
Absolutely.
After you get-
I'm almost there.
Okay,
Tommy's snowplow with the CHIPS money and.
but we're not the numbers people here, okay?
I understand.
We're basing stuff
And,
on what was presented to
I
us.
understand, and I'm not criticizing you for that. First of all, I'm coming in 11th hour, and then I don't want to appear like
Everybody's
I'm
coming
upsetting
in.
the apple cart, you know, but.
No, but if there's something really wrong here,
Yeah.
please present us the numbers, and the committee will
I think we can come
definitely.
up with a reasonable solution, hopefully, you know, that.
Yeah.
And all this was a recommendation to the board. This was
Yeah.
not I don't know any other committee that would have to discuss what they're doing before they meet in committee to figure out.
Well, except that when you're negotiating, when you're proposing to change a contract, it probably isn't a bad idea to sit down collectively and get their ideas, see where they're going, because then you're not spinning your wheels, you know. You know what I'm saying, is, you know, you come back with a good faith proposal that you've made, and then you find out that, well, the rest of the board isn't in favor of that. I mean, well, that can happen anyway, but, so, I mean, don't misunderstand where we're coming from, and where I'm coming from. When I saw the amount, it doesn't sound like a lot of money. I mean, we've got some big ticket items coming up down the road with that wastewater plant. And, so, we want to be fair and equitable. First of all, I mean, very briefly, this contract, most of that, the way it was structured, was theirs. Now, that was 30 years ago. I mean, people have changed, you know, there are different people now maintaining that contract, but anyway,
Okay,
well, I'd be glad to, you know,
please.
run
Thank
some
you.
numbers.
That's great.
That's what I like to do.
That's great.
Now sit down, we can get together then.
Okay.
All right?
Maybe you can be involved in negotiations too.
Yeah, I probably could be.
Well, I would expect him to be, because Rick was there to do the numbers before, and I expect if you
Yeah.
to be there as well, if you wouldn't mind.
No,
It makes
no.
sense, because again, we do not know the numbers the way
Right.
those guys are working with the numbers constantly.
Okay. No, I'd be glad to.
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, I don't have anything else.
I got more. Town Pomfret fire contract.
Well, this is contract, we should discuss it really.
Just, are you guys, is anybody planning to work on this?
We are
Currently?
planning, yes, and we
Okay,
are
good,
discussing.
because the fire department has to also ratify it before the end of the year.
It's involved, the fire department is fully
It's
involved
and
in
it's
this.
December 5th is the deadline for the town to accept it, so.
When is that?
December 5th is the
Okay.
deadline.
I'm sure we're gonna have something before that.
They're fully engulfed.
Yeah.
You're
Jim,
just full of them today.
Been a long day.
Jim, you and I are the town Pomfret liaisons, but there's a meeting coming up here on the 19th, I'm not able to make it. Now, we were talking, I just happened to see Jude because of my job. He was saying the things we had discussed, like at Russell Joy Park and all that, the different improvements to the roofs of the pavilions and the parking lots. They're doing their budget right, they're going on it right now. He says if at the meeting here coming up, if like we could like request maybe an extra $10,000 to start, because the figures that we had gotten from Perry for $38,000 to repair the roofs on that were way out.
Yeah, we questioned that.
We questioned that.
Yeah.
I mean, Roger Pecos said they could build it, his kids could build a whole new pavilion for us for $38,000.
I think that's right.
So-
I think it's right.
We'd like to sit down with Tony, come up with some ideas of plans of, doing a partial parking lot this year, or doing the roofs, on the pavilions, but if you could make that meeting, if you could, it would
I'll have to check my schedule,
Okay.
I'll check them.
but for the board or the village to request maybe an additional above and beyond the $10,000 they put in the budget, to put in their budget this year.
If they're putting 10,000
We would
additional on
put-
theirs, we would have to match that, because we both put in the same amount each year.
I think like last year, we had, or this current budget, we had like 19,000, because we split the 38, I believe.
That was some, yeah.
The
Something
money
like that.
invested in that park is
It's
a
good.
good investment because it's used by almost everybody all the time, all summer long.
Yeah, it's a source of revenue.
Yeah, I mean, and the parking lots are a mess.
So I mean, even in our current budget, we appropriated 19,000 that we aren't spending this year, obviously, so $10,000 would definitely be
We could roll it over, yeah.
rolled over to this current budget, is what I'm saying, so. But Jude thought maybe that was kind of a rough to start out with, I don't know.
Well, it seems easy enough to add that to what we have, and then, what we do annually, and then, tackle what we can. I mean, without.
I think if you talk with Tony and sit down and get a new number, and then you can call them, you don't have to make the meeting. I mean, I'm sure if you call them and you ask for, to meet with them, they will be more than willing to do
Or
that.
somehow let them know before while they're working on their budget, that
Right.
might be a
Yeah,
doable number. I
that's-
don't know, however the
It doesn't have to
contact
be
is
at the
made.
meeting.
The only question I have on that is if we're talking, if they agree to the 10,000, I can't arbitrarily give them a $10,000 guarantee unless it's gone to the board.
Well, no, every year we give them $10,000.
Ten-
They
we give
they
them-
put 10,000 and we put
We're
10,000.
talking, Jude was
That's-
talking about $10,000
It's a match.
above.
It's a
on-
match,
on-
right.
on
And
top
so
of the
what I'm
10,000,
saying is-
20,000 per each municipality to
Their
tackle
budgets,
some of
they
the
do
projects.
Just January to January year.
Yep,
So the total would be
Yeah.
20,000 each,
that's correct.
the next year. But
Right, next year's
but
budget.
theirs is January to January,
January
ours is, from June to that, right, so, from June, so, we didn't put that extra 10,000 into our budget for the parks this year, is what I'm saying. So,
No, we put 19,000
We put
into it.
more money, yeah, we did.
We put like 19,000 towards it, which we haven't
So it's
utilized
nine-
yet.
so it's 9,000, so we have 9,000 above, not 10,000.
No, it was 19,000 above the 10,000, because we split the 38, I believe it was a $38,000 split on top of the 10,000 normally. So, I mean,
So we're just asking for their portion, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
so you understand, I mean, we didn't utilize it this year, if you can roll it over, if that's how it's done or whatever,
If we didn't utilize it, then ours is already covered, is what you're saying.
that's correct.
Correct. Okay, got it, thank you. No, that's good, that's really good then.
Real quickly, I've been talking to Jim about this New York State Legislative Initiative money. Couple good things that Jim pointed out while we were talking, or the tractor for the snow removal might be something to request money for, and also I was thinking maybe the parking lot in Village Hall, that right now, who was it, Rick from the
Davis.
Opera House, Davis sent everybody an email saying that,
I mean, we knew that.
so,
That's
I mean,
common knowledge.
I'm trying to think of some small things. I mean, we could try to ask for money towards our big projects, but I don't think that might not be reasonable. So maybe some small, maybe a couple things like this. If anybody could think of any other requests, they probably should be in sooner than later.
If they're willing, if the senator is willing to give us money for the parking lot, I think we should ask only for that and nothing else. I would be extremely grateful if they give us the money, because this is very important for us.
Yeah, it's
So,
ruining the structure
We
of
don't
the
need to
building
wait for
there.
4 or 5 or 6 projects. This is a very good project. If you think they can give us that money, I will be extremely grateful, because this is something we need, and it's not very cheap. I mean, it's not 15,000, 60,000. That's going to cost over
Couple hundred.
$250,000 at least, if we are lucky. So if she's willing to give it to us, I'll be extremely grateful.
Does the rest of the board feel comfortable with that request then?
Yeah.
Jim, is that something I could, we'll sit down with you and we could fill that out and we'll get it going to Senator Young's office?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have anything else? It's over 8 o'clock. Have meetings tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay.
I gotta go to work tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock too, so I feel your pain.
I'm exhausted.
Are we okay?
Dr. Barris?
Give us the motion.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
Yes.
Aye.